Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Tuhami from Midway Simplicity, and welcome to a new episode of the Midway Simplicity Show. And this year I invite Simple Living advocates to show us the link and the connection between simplicity and passion, and how simple living can enable passionate living, doing work that matters. And my very special guest today is Christian Grobmeier, author of the Zen Programmer, a great new book that will show you how you can have your life in your own hands and how to apply Zen right now, not in a special vacation or in the weekends or this stuff. No, right now you can apply the Zen concept. So if you feel stressed and have no time to do things that matter, then this book is a must-read. In this interview we will learn tips on how to say no more often and smile more often, live a better life, and do high-quality work. Christian, it's such an honor and pleasure to have you on the call today.
Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very excited to be able to speak with you today. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with your story. I know that you have been working so many hours a week, more than 80, 100 hours a week. And then you shifted your lifestyle into a Zen life. So I'm excited to know your story. And what was the transformational point in your life?
Well, actually, I worked a lot for quite a while in my life. So I started as a young guy. I wanted to be a rock star. And for some reason, it didn't work out so well. So I needed to take a job. And well, then I started to work. And suddenly something goes wrong. And I needed another job. And in the end, I ended up in becoming a programmer. And I mean, the programming scene is known for the hard workers, actually. And as I had no reputation back then, I thought it would be a good idea to start with a big company. And well, I started with a big company and worked a lot. And then the next bigger company came out, and I worked for them. And I worked and I worked and I worked, and I drove up to Frankfurt, which is around 400 kilometers far from my place. Monday morning, 4 o'clock or so, I worked until Friday. I made 60 hours in the week until Friday lunch, then traveled back, slept the whole Saturday, and on Sunday I felt like a zombie and was packaging my stuff for the next week. And this went on for years. And on Sunday it was so much stress and so much hectic that I thought, so is that life? So should it finish like that? I mean, I was waiting for the next promotion to another level, to make some kind of career or something. And well, I worked and I worked, and I had money suddenly, but I had no time to spend it on anything. So I gave everything to my wife. At least she could have some benefit of it, but I was just working. And there was one day. It was a very hectic week. We had some bugs in production, which means everybody was looking at what I am typing. And then I thought, okay, I have my keyboard in front of me, and the one manager left of me and the other manager right to me, and both were chatting in my ears, and everything went horrible. And I typed and all that. Could you type faster, please? Could you type faster? But I couldn't type faster. After all, I somehow managed to get the bug out and went home and slept for a few hours. Then I woke up, my adrenaline was pumping through my veins, and I thought, okay, and now I even cannot sleep anymore. When I woke up, I could hear the managers chatting in my ears. So I thought, this is not right. This is no living. I finally just sat down on my ass and simply shut up. So I was doing that, and I was breathing, and I was listening to the birds outside. And when I experienced that, I thought, okay, there is a life outside from work, from career, and something. I just need to find a way to combine the birds outside my room and my own work life. And this was actually the start of my travel through Zen.
Awesome, that's great. So how would you define Zen? What is Zen? And how your book makes it so accessible to people? Like right now you can apply Zen. So
well, actually, if you would Google Zen, then you would find a lot of Buddhism and people who explain Buddhism and Zen Buddhism related to Zen and so on. And when I was so stressed back then, I didn't look for a new religion actually. I just wanted to find a way out and give new sense to my life. So there was a lot of Buddhism chatter, and in all these between, I found one book from an author who is called Kodo Sawaki. Kodo Sawaki was a Zen master who died before 50 years or so. So you could say he's a very modern Zen master, and he was known to be very straight. So he didn't say Zen is a religion at all. He just said you can do Zen every time you live, in every second, with everything you do. Zen is everywhere. And I didn't understand it right back, and I think it's not understandable when I say it like that. So let me elaborate. I mean, Zen means that you take your life seriously and you take your job seriously, but you're not attached to it. So, an example, if you go to your job and your manager comes and says, hey, our system is exploding, you need to do something. Yes, good, do something at all. That's all. But it's not, your life will not end because the system is exploding. Some people will lose money, okay, but you can do more than work. And understanding that the things you do is everything you can do and nothing more, and not being emotionally attached to such things is more or less Zen. It's knowing that you live, that you breathe, that you're human, and that you need to put your feet on the bottom. There are more things than just work, and this knowing that you are a human, this recognizing and remembering you as a human, for me that's Zen. In terms of the book, when you ask me why can you do Zen right now, an example in this minute. In this minute I am practicing Zen with carefully listening to you and trying to pronounce everything as good as possible and express everything as good as possible. I could have my mobile phone on and look at Twitter at the same time, but this is not concentrating. At the moment we are speaking, and the Zen practice would be to concentrate on what you say and what you are asking, and I try to fully respond to that. This is my practice right now. There is no other confusion around, there is no music, there is no iPhone, there is nothing, there's just you and me. And actually to concentrate on what you say took me a long time. So you know it, when you are in the office working, maybe your boss comes in, your wife calls in, then somebody sends a great link on Twitter and so on. This is not concentration, but Zen means live now, breathe now, act now, do the things right now, everything in here and now. That's Zen.
So Zen is kind of living in the moment, you know.
Actually, yes, it is. So, of course, when you look into Zen and understand what Zen is with living in the moment, you can dig deeper. So, an example, I have been absorbed by the Zen thoughts, and I am practicing Zen on a more serious level. Meanwhile, means I have a sensei who teach me on Zen and who teaches me also on Buddhism at all. So, because I'm interested, but if you don't want that, it's not necessary actually. And that's what is my book about. I want to introduce Zen to people who are not looking for religion, but who want to learn about the philosophy behind, and who want to see what I did to find out, to get out the manager from a year.
Yeah, you know, the concept of living in the moment is very popular, but the application of the concept is really difficult, because the level of distractions and the level of the speed of today's life is not allowing people to live in the moment easily. So what are some kind of practices or like exercises or things that people can do in order to be more able to practice Zen? I know that in your book you wrote about Kaizen and other practices. So can you share with us a couple of things that people can start doing, and this automatically will lead to living in the moment or being in a Zen, you know, situation or status?
Yes, of course. So actually, my personal Zen practice, which I do every day, is to blow the shakuhachi, which is a flute, a bamboo flute. But of course, you cannot do that in the office, because if I would arrive in the office with my bamboo flute, everybody would think, oh, what is that crazy guy? So I thought about it, what can I do to make it in the office? And actually, Zen practice is about concentration and about doing almost simple things with great care. Or let's say, almost simple things. A few of these things are art, like painting or something, or making music. But a few other things are, in example, making tea. And I looked at that tea approach and thought, okay, I'm a coffee drinker, but what if I would go out in the middle of the hectic, an example, shortly after lunch or after a meeting or something, go to the coffee bar, take out very good tea and prepare to make tea. Nothing else. Just take out the tree leaves, make the water hot, prepare your cup, try to make the perfect tea. It's a really perfect tea. It's the best tea you have made in your life. Makes it that very day, right after the meeting. Fully concentrate on making tea for around 10 minutes. After making tea, clean your dish, clean up everything you have taken, and then you can go back. Do that once a day, an example for 10 or 15 minutes, and it will change you already. Because if you do have the hectic for 10 hours in one row or something, you cannot find out. You lose the contact to your earth behind you. So, but if you make a break, if you fully concentrate on the tea, then you might be able to find back, to get your feet back on earth, so to say. Just to not forget that you need to breathe. Making tea is one of my favorite things to find back to earth.
Wow, that's a very interesting thing. I like that. It's similar to the slow food movement. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have heard about that. Actually, I'm not very much into slow food movement, but what I have heard from it is very good. Actually, I started to cook, concentrated cooking, recently, before I think 2 or 3 months. My wife is very thankful, and it's actually the same. If you prepare your meal, you can practice Zen as well. So just as what I do is I do not use electricity when I cook a meal. An example, I prepare every carrot myself with a knife or everything. I do everything myself and fully concentrated, and I try not to be confused by any Twitter stream or anything else. So it's just me and the tomato. So it's the same approach. There are more things you can do in that vein. That's why I say you can practice Zen at every time. Do something fully concentrated. An example, Zen monks sit down. say just sit down and say, let's say thoughts, streams with the mind, they are not attached to it. So it's the same way. So do just sitting, and just sitting is really, really difficult. So for beginners like me, or maybe like somebody who listens to the stream now, it would be more like, I need something to do because I'm not able to just sit, because it's so complicated to just sit. Now make tea. Just make tea and really try to be fully concentrated on everything you do, on every move, on every breath. And this is already very difficult, and you have something to concentrate on. You have something to focus on, and it is still difficult.
And in the end of your book, you talk about two interesting concepts. The first is Zen is hard work.
Yeah.
So do you really think this is an encouraging message at the end of the book? And how Zen is hard work? And you know.
Yeah, I know some people don't like the word hard work. Well, but I can't lie to you actually. So because I would say, if I would say practice a little Zen and after 2 weeks you can fly, then it's a lie. And it's not, because until I reached the stage that I really thought, okay, life has changed since I practiced Zen. It took me quite a while. I mean, I started with Zen around 2006 or so, and really a change of my life was in 2010. So it took me 4 years of practice and studying to actually feel a change. And since then, I quit my job. I made intense practice of Shakuhachi meanwhile, and so on. I still feel it changes. Everything changes. My thinking changes. But imagine, can you change your own mind, your own thinking so easily? I bet not. Nobody can. And that's why I say it's hard work. Because you cannot just sit down and say, oh, okay, and a little sleep in between, because it's not the practice. You need to practice to get a different view on your life, on yourself, on everything around you. This is hard work. You cannot achieve that easily.
And you know what? We are doing hard work anyway. But the difference is that the hard work we do now is not as fulfilling, and it's not paying off as we want. But when you do hard work on the Zen concept, it will pay off, and it will bring you the fulfillment that you are looking for. So since you are working hard anyway, so work hard on something that will pay off.
Well, some Zen masters would say, if you do the Zen practice just that it pays off, it will never pay off. You need to be or I need to be very careful with saying something like that, because the Zen masters would say I'm a totally idiot if I would recommend something like that. You should not do it because it pays off. You should do it because it feels right to you, and you need to do it. Because I felt it changes my life, but can I say it pays off? I mean, I do not have more money. Actually, I do have less money. Do I have more time because I work less? No. I work really much these days because I'm meanwhile self-employed. So I have a lot of things to do. So I have less money and I have the same amount of work. Does it pay off? Yes. Because I changed my life in a way that I thought, okay, I don't care anymore about career. Career for me, it doesn't mean anything. But when I work, sometimes the door behind me opens and my 2-year-old comes in the room and says, hello daddy, and so I took him on my feet and he can watch the meeting I'm currently listening and so on. So does it pay off? Yes, because I can smile more often, because I have lost the fright before saying, okay, my career is everything. This life, I mean, you need a house, you need a dog, you need a career. It doesn't mean much. I need just the life now. And this understanding has somehow paid off. So it's natural. It's natural to think that your son is priority number one, right? I mean, it's also natural in theory, but in practice, we see the manager approaching us and hunting us down because of a bug. So we all behave unnatural. Zen helps you to get back into your natural mood. So you cannot say Zen pays off in a way, because it would pay off if we would live in a natural way somehow. So I would say Zen just helps you to keep your feet on the earth.
Yeah,
that's
makes
everything.
Sense. Yeah, makes sense. And the final thing that I would like to discuss with you in this interview is dealing with other people, because being a Zen practitioner in a world that does not understand being calm and living in the moment, because everyone is rushing around. So how do you deal with other people around you who don't understand this concept?
Well, that's actually difficult. So I have made a very radical step. So I have quit my job and then decided for myself to just surround myself with people whom I like. Of course, not everybody of the people whom I like understand what I do and how I want to live. And well, I could explain, but it doesn't matter, because if they don't want to understand, they don't want it. So it's more or less, I try to live to not go onto your nerves. If I manage that, I have already achieved my goal. Then in the second step, I try to achieve that if you do something which I don't like, I need to say, okay, it's something he did, and maybe it's my harm, but does my life depend on it? No. I simply need to accept that you are a person of that kind, and well, then I can decide to go away. I can also decide to be sad a little bit, but what I should not do is to stick with the feeling. So there are a lot of feelings which come up during the day with people who don't understand what I do or what I want to live. So I need simply to accept that. I can be sad, okay, but sadness will go on. I can be happy because somebody understands me or makes a nice interview with me. Okay, but the happiness will pass on as well. So when I live in the moment, and when I am the rock in the middle of a sea and everything is silent around me, then there can be a storm someday, but in the end the sea will stay silent again. Of course, this is not easy, and I have a lot of situations every week where I think, okay, where is my Zen when I need it? Because I'm human as well. If I would not be human, and if I would not make my mistakes, you could call me Buddha. But honestly, I'm far from being a Buddha, and I'm even far from being a great Zen teacher or something. So what I'm telling is just my own experience. And well, dealing with other people, well, it's difficult and it will stay difficult. It's just important that you try not to stick to your feelings. So accept you have feelings, accept you're human, then go on. Life will go on all the time.
Awesome. And what would be the final piece of wisdom that you would like to leave our viewers with?
There is one of my favorite quotes I would like to share. I hope I can translate it to a proper English. It's very harsh, so please skip away if you don't want to hear harsh words. But it's to eat, to shit, and to piss. The fools will laugh, but the wise will understand. And that is what I would like to share, because it's very interesting, because this Zen master have really seen what's important in your life. So maybe you can Google that up.
That's a nice piece of wisdom to ponder upon. Yeah. Makes
Well,
sense. It makes sense. Need just to digest it a little bit until you get around it. Thank you so much, Christian, for the amazing insights that you shared with us in this call, and hope to have you again in a future episode where we talk in depth about the Zen practice.
oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much for your interest, and thank you very much that I could explain a little bit of Zen to you. And I hope for your listeners that they enjoyed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I recommend those who are watching us now to go to zenprogrammer.org, right?
Right.
Zenprogrammer.org to check the book and your work. Great book. Highly recommended. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. A programmer, and I mean the programming scene is known for the hard workers actually, and as I had no reputation back then, I thought it would be a good idea to start with a big company. And well, I started with a big company and worked a lot, and then the next bigger company came out and I worked for them, and I worked and I worked and I worked and I drove up to Frankfurt.
Life. So I'm excited to know your story, and what was the transformational point in your life?
Well, actually, I worked a lot for quite a while in my life. So I started as a young guy. I wanted to be a rock star, and for some reason it didn't work out so well. So I needed to take a job, and well, then I started to work, and suddenly something goes wrong, and I needed another job, and in the end, I ended up in becoming.
How to say no more often and smile more often, live a better life, and do high quality work. Christian, it's such an honor and pleasure to have you on the call today.
Oh, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very excited to be able to speak with you today. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with your story. I know that you have been working so many hours a week, like more than like 80, 100 hours a week. And then you shifted your lifestyle into a Zen. And my very special guest today is Christian Grobmeier, author of the Zen Programmer, a great new book that will show you how you can have your life in your own hands and how to apply Zen right now, not in a special vacation or in the weekends or this stuff. No, right now you can apply the Zen concept. So if you feel stressed and have no time to do things that matter, then this book is a must-read. In this interview, we will learn tips on how. Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Tuhami from Midway Simplicity, and welcome to a new episode of the Midway Simplicity Show. And this year I invite Simple Living advocates to show us the link and the connection between simplicity and passion, and how simple living can enable passionate living, doing work that matters.